This episode is supported by MonsterJoysticks.com. Level up your Raspberry Pi with our all-in-one arcade kit using genuine Sanwa arcade parts. And OneClickPrint.com for your photos on canvas, acrylic, gifts and more. Local craftsmen and global delivery.
Hello cave dwellers, this thing is seriously solid. Just look at it, it's like it's carved out of a solid bit of granite. There's no bend, there's no flex, there's no plasticky bits. That is a serious bit of hardware. What is it? Well, in today's Tech Nibble, we're looking at the Husky FC486 computer. The FC here standing for field computer, which is why it's so damn tough looking. This is made to be drop-kicked, rained on, frozen, and used to drive nails into fence posts, no doubt, by people who do jobs that involve muddy boots and site visits. Surveyors, archaeologists, tank commanders maybe. And if you ran out of shells in your tank, well, you could do some serious damage to your enemy with this thing. And I've even seen it referenced in an electronic paper on, yes, cave surveying, which makes me incredibly happy that it might be used for that purpose. So, what have we got here in the FC486? Well, first of all, we've got our QWERTY keyboard down here. It's a chiclet keyboard, which, like every other part of this, is designed to be weather and shock proof, and some of the keys are dual purpose. So you've got the yellow ones here, a numeric keypad. You've got your contrast and your brightness and your volume over here, which are rather nicely accessed by holding down this little paw print. We've got a little husky paw key down here. Oh, isn't that cute? But it's not all about the keyboard. Hidden away on the back underneath the stand / carry handle here is a pen. Let's get that out. I can't get it out. You'll have trouble getting that out with gloves if that's where it's stored. Okay, it's an electromagnetic pen, so you can jab away at tick boxes on the screen rather than having to take your gloves off and use the keys, presuming you can get the damn thing out of the handle, as I had trouble with. And in addition, every key on the keyboard is fully programmable, providing you have the software to do that. So you could perhaps make your own keyboard overlay for a very simplified piece of software that anyone can just jab away at and use with the programmed keys or the pen. Nice and flexible for pretty much any field type purpose that you can think of. We'll pop that pen back in there. I don't know if we'll get a chance to try that later or not, if we can find the software. But tucked away under that handle, we've also got a range of ports. You've got your standard serial and parallel ports there, but you've also got this round port here into which you can plug. Go on, get in there. I've got a BNC network connector. This is a Zircon branded one, but I think it's specially designed for the Husky computer here to create a nice tight seal and keep that weatherproof. Should you be using your BNC network outdoors? I imagine you'd be in the site office if you were using that, but there we go. It's as solid as every other part of the machine. Now on the table here, the design of this, even if we do pull out the stand, there we go, it might look kind of awkward to you. You can get a nice angle to use the keyboard and see the screen, but it's not really designed to be used like that. And by the way, this is sealed cast magnesium alloy that the case is made of. That's why it's so solid. So it looks kind of awkward on the table, but it's really designed for those moving about. So you can use the handle like that, or what it's really designed for, that angle is designed to sit on your forearm like that. So you can walk around, jab it with the pen, and walk around a field like that. Now at 2 kilograms, it's fairly tolerable, but you'll probably have an arm like Popeye if you've used it for a week with 2 kilograms sat on your forearm. Husky computers who made this thing are based in Coventry in the UK, according to Companies House. Their heyday seemed to be in the 80s and 90s when they produced such devices as the original Husky in 1981 and the Husky Hunter, machines all built for a similar purpose and with the same solid build quality. After our 486 here came the FC which is in the same style casing but had a little more grunt with a view to running Windows 95. Now the specs on this particular model are given away somewhat by the name FC486. Yes, it's a 486 based PC, and we should open it up really, shouldn't we, to see what's inside. But I'll also mention the screen first, because it's just as tough as the rest of the unit. That screen is a transflective LCD, and it should have, or apparently it says it has, a replaceable polycarbonate shield which can withstand the direct impact of a 1-inch steel ball dropping from a height of 6 feet directly onto it. I'm not sure I really want to put that to the test today, and I'd suggest there's some kind of rubber bezel missing around here. If we look really closely at the screen, you can see the green PCB of the screen through the crack there, which doesn't really align with the rest of the build quality of this machine. So I'm assuming either we're missing the polycarbonate shield, although I think that's it there, or we're missing some kind of rubber bezel around it that would have kept that watertight. But that shouldn't hinder us today. And when I talk about that build quality, that watertight build quality, you only need to look in the PCMCIA slots on the side here. There's this great rubber door. If I can get my fingers around it, there we go, which protects 2 PCMCIA slots. A great big hulking piece of rubber there, which will keep all of the rain and the snow and whatever else you want to throw it out there. That is watertight. On top of the magnesium alloy door. Serious bit of kit, this. We do, of course, have the option to run this by battery. Of course, you need to be battery powered to be using it in the field. And that's handled by this Duracell, what have we got? A DR30 battery in the back here. Now, this thing is quoted as having a 10-hour battery life off of a 1-hour charge. That's damned impressive, really. I'll put it back in so that I get the feel for the full weight of the machine. But yeah, you're going to get a full day's work, a full day's surveying if those numbers are correct and not just marketing hyperbole. And if we're not running it off the mains or by the battery, we've also got this over here, which is the official Husky vehicle power adapter. That plugs into your cigarette lighter and gives you power to the machine. So you shouldn't be without power. You jump into your 4x4 or your tank, as I mentioned earlier, wire it up, and you're charging your battery up again. This thing should go on for days and days, should you need it to, with all of those options. So you're starting to get a feel for it and how much damage it can do. But you, like me, probably want to know exactly what's inside this thing and how it runs. So let's get to work on all 18, count them, 18 of these screws to get this thing open. Where's my screwdriver? That's those screws out then, and they're all clamped shut against this rubber seal. Again, keeping the elements out. Really nicely made. Let's be careful, we have got some cables there I don't want to yank out. I imagine we've got one cable here for the keyboard, that's the keyboard cable, and the display cable it looks like. So there's not a speck of dust in here because of the way that it's sealed. It's as new as the day it came out of the factory by the looks of things. First thing that jumps out at me is, of course, the 486 chip over here. This is running at, well, it came with a 25 or a 50 megahertz 486 chip, and the big 50 on here tells me that this is 50 megahertz, which is great. And then just next to it, that's a Texas Instruments chip, by the way, chosen according again to the marketing, so take it with a pinch of salt for its low power use profile compared to other chips. And down here is a Cyrix 87 SLC. So it's got a maths coprocessor to go with it. And it can really crunch some numbers. In our desktops in 1994, we were getting into Pentium processors. But a 50 megahertz 486 with a maths coprocessor was a very capable machine for the kind of thing that we'd be doing with this. So that's great. Over here, we've got our memory. We've got a SIM over here, which I think, by the looks of it, is 16 meg, which is the maximum I believe that you could upgrade it to. It came with 2 meg as standard. We'll find out, hopefully, when we power it up. But we've got our 72 pin, I believe, SIM there. Go on, get back in. And then the thing that really stands out for me is this SIM over here. That's our RAM. So what's this? And if we look closely, there's a label on there which says Award Cardware. It's slightly rubbed off on the label, but it says Cardware on there. And we've got some Intel, there you go, Intel flash chips. So I think, looking around at the fact that there's no kind of hard disk in here, that this will have our operating system in read-only memory. According again to the marketing gumph, DOS or Windows 3.1, maybe Windows 3.11, I can't remember, but it's that sort of era. I think that's the case. The only way to prove that theory is to actually fire it up, and I haven't done that yet. I haven't had this thing working. So let's see if we have an anticlimax, or if we can figure out how this thing works. Just feeling how much elasticity this seal still has in it, and the lack of scratches and things. I don't think this unit got very much use, to be honest. I would expect it to look a bit more beaten up if it had been out in the field more. If I'm honest, I kind of wish I'd charged up my electric screwdriver today. I'm using the original power supply with this, so I thought for peace of mind I'd just pop the multimeter onto it, because no matter how strongly this thing is built, a dodgy power source is sure to kill it, and thankfully it's absolutely fine, but it was worth checking. So the first thing that happened when I powered this on is that it seemed to only give me a black screen. That in itself is not a bad thing, it means our LCD is working, but it didn't seem to be doing much else. So I hopefully gave it the 3-finger salute, Control-Alt-Delete, and well, it came to life, kind of surprisingly, but that only got us so far. It tries to boot, and then it says insert boot disk and press any key. Now, ordinarily, if this was a regular PC, I'd check the hard disk at this point, make sure it's plugged in, check it isn't faulty, maybe even replace it. But what do we do with this? It doesn't have a hard disk in it. Now, there's very little in the way of documentation, but I did discover if you hold down Alt and tap Escape, that takes us into the BIOS. I should be able to adjust the contrast. There we go, that's a little bit easier for you to see on the camera. So what have we got then? It's reset the date and time. Processor 486SX25. So I was wrong about the 50 earlier, unless this is underclocked in some way. We've got the maths coprocessor detected. There's really very little in the way of options here to change. It doesn't show any kind of hard disk detected, so there's nothing to really help us get past that. How about if we stick a PCMCIA memory card, a compact flash card, in fact I've got an adapter here, so an ATA PC card as it would have been back in the day, in the slot, and we'll see if that helps. Maybe it's looking for storage in there. Well, I mean, that's something. It's not saying that the disk can't be found with the compact flash card in there, it's just saying diagnostics okay. And it's frozen at that point. So it still doesn't help me to make any progress. Okay, I'm back. Now, amazingly, there is still a company that supports this out there. It's called handheldsystems.com. I reached out to them just expecting no response whatsoever and offering to pay any fee for support if they were able to give it to help me figure out how this is working. A chap called Mike there, thank you so much, Mike, offered me some support. In fact, he didn't offer support, he just told me everything I needed to know in one succinct email. He's what hopefully will get this thing working, and I would never have guessed it. So we turn it on, we hold down Alt and we tap F1. Just keep on tapping it, Alt and F1. So it looks like it's frozen up as it did before, it just says diagnostics okay. But here's the secret. Apparently, if we type in YKS, this is hard upside down, UH, yes, that is Husky backwards. We've got some options on the screen. Option 1 for disk boot, option 2 for ROM boot. Now at this point we're supposed to press 1 according to the wizard that is Mike. And then we've got the option to enter selection 1 resident disk, 2 PCMCIA disk. So we want to boot from the resident disk. Reset disk system. Yes. Starting MS-DOS. Amazingly, this seems to be working. That's what you would get with a regular MS-DOS setup that's lost its date and time. We'll just press enter and enter. And we've got our C prompt. We are in MS-DOS. That's amazing. Thank you so much to Mike for his support. Let's do a dir. And there's our disk system. And all there is on there is command.com, something called util, and our DOS folder. Let me have a play with this and see what we can find. Okay, after a lot of fiddling about, I think I've figured this out. If we do our dir again, you'll notice that it says no bytes free. We've still just got command, util, and DOS. Now, what we're looking at here is what's on the non-volatile memory, the read-only memory, if you like. It's got DOS baked in there, but of course, because it's a ROM, we can't write anything to it. Now, after using the util, which might set me on the path to figuring out, it gives us all sorts of options, but it also has some hidden options. If you type util/?, that doesn't help. It just launches the utility. So I set about typing util/A/B/C. I tried every single letter in the alphabet and I came across /R. Now this is a really interesting one because it pops up and it says set date and time for recovery. Well, I've just left it at the default, 1st of January 1993. Press return. And the machine then reboots. It says recovering options on C. And if we do a dir after reboot to see what's on our directory structure, we've now got Windows. And we've got 11 meg of free space. So it's also got Windows in the ROM, but it's pulled it across into a volatile piece of memory that we can actually write to now, and we now have access to. And I can tell you, if I pull the power out and I pull the battery out, that reverts back to just command, util, DOS, and no bytes free. If we type win to try and load Windows, it's there, but it says himem.sys is missing. And that's because our config.sys and our autoexec.bat, as any good DOS user will know, is missing. Incidentally, the version of DOS we're running is DOS version 6.22. So there's another switch on that util which really helps us here. Instead of util/R, we now do util/C. And it brings up another box. It says, what's your country and do you want PCMCIA software? Well, we'll say no for now. And it says default config.sys and autoexec.bat. So if we just press return, it then generates what it's got in its ROM, the default config and autoexec. So it doesn't really generate it. I guess it copies it across from wherever it's got it stored. There's himem loading. And if we do another dir, there they are. Config.sys, autoexec.bat. And if we do a mem, we can launch largest executable program size 606K. Now we'll come back. That's important that we see that right now. But for the moment, if we do a win, it actually loads Microsoft Windows for Pen Computing Edition. Let's fix that contrast for you again. Not a version of Windows I've used before. It's clearly based on Windows 3, 3.1, maybe even 3.11. I'm not sure. But we run into a problem here. If I grab the pen, that problem being that it doesn't detect it in its factory reset default configuration, in which you'd expect all of this to just be working. The pen isn't working. And whoa, stop everything. Future Neil here from a couple of days after this video was made. I found something else out about this pen. So let me just show you quickly and then we'll get back to several days ago. So what I didn't pick up on first time around was actually that you can unscrew the end of the pen. And hidden away in there are some old crusty looking batteries. I don't think they've actually leaked inside. They've just got a bit crusty on the outside, but nothing major. So we're going to replace those with new batteries and hopefully that will get our pen working. When I look closely, it looks like there's a little bit of plastic missing. So there must have been something very brittle, either snapped or that broke as I opened it. And I did open it carefully, but something has gone that this bit hooks into. So that's unfortunate. I can't actually close it again and keep the lid on. So I'm going to have to put my thumb on it for the purpose of this demonstration. We'll find some way of fixing that. A bit of 3D printing maybe. I don't want to super glue it closed because you need to be able to change the batteries. But anyway, let's just see if this actually works by using it in a very ham-fisted way. Here's Windows. And if I jab at the screen now, you can see the cursor is moving. So this pen is absolutely fine. It just needed some new batteries and it needs a bit of TLC. Let's try out that solitaire. Drag our ace up there. Drag you up there. But we can draw squiggly lines. So you can see the pen is working. Good. So Future Neil has established that the pen is fine. It just needed some batteries. Pretend this never happened. There we go. Now there's one more piece of the puzzle that we need to sort out here. And that's the ability to be able to use our PCMCIA card. It's in there, tucked away in there. And we can do that by using the same command again, util/c. And this time, when it generates the config.sys and autoexec.bat, make sure we're still in English, we can set PCMCIA software to yes. Hit return. It creates the config.sys and autoexec.bat files again, but this time it's added all of the drivers for the PCMCIA card. And if we listen, we should be able to hear it play a magical PCMCIA tune. That's it detecting our card. So it's loaded all the drivers. First thing I want to show you again is if we check the memory with mem, the largest executable program size is now only 427K. Now we could go in and tweak config.sys and autoexec.bat to try and increase that, but clearly the PCMCIA drivers take up a big chunk of our conventional memory. With that working, we now need to prepare our PCMCIA card, and we do that by typing pc prep. That's hidden away in the DOS folder. Oh, and I need to specify the drive. pc prep space d colon. And just like the format command would, it says all data will be lost on the PCMCIA ATA card. Proceed, yes. 0 in MBR, PBR, FATs, and root directory. So that's preparing our card. And if we browse to D now, do a dir. There's our PCMCIA card. File not found. Well, let's make a quick directory called test. There we go. I find when you do a dir on the PCMCIA card the first time, it takes quite a while for it to finish the command. There you go. It's thought about it, but the next time you do it after the first, it's instant. Bit of a quirk of the card, I think. But it's showing our test folder that we've just created and 2 GB free because it's a 2 gig memory card. So our PCMCIA card is working. Anything we put on there, of course, is not lost even if we take the battery out. We could prepare it and tell this to actually boot from it, so that does away with any problems with the volatile memory that we're working from at the moment. So it gives you lots of options. And it now gives me an opportunity to put files on that card on my PC, bring them across to here and run them on here so we can see some programs other than DOS or Windows not working with the pen. So let's grab some files and see what this thing can do. Okay, there's some files. I just used the card reader on my PC to swap the card out, copy the files on. I've got 3 examples of things that I want to show you, and we're going to start with Top Bench, which is a benchmark program, just to get an idea of what this machine's capable of. So I've run a benchmark, I've added it to the Top Bench database, and it compares it to other systems. And you can just see it running here. It's scored 43 on Top Bench, and in the database that sits between something called a BioStar AT clone and a Compact Desk Pro 38625. So although this is a 486, benchmarks wise it's performing around about the same as a Compact 38625, which is interesting. And also we can see on here video adapter is VGA with 256 kilobytes of video memory, so there's no SVGA capabilities on this. There doesn't need to be honest. Interesting results. I thought it would be registering as something a bit quicker than that. Maybe there's a bottleneck, maybe it's the speed of the disk accessing or something like that that's bringing it down slightly. Not sure, but that's what Top Bench tells us. That PC speaker. So this is a good example of static text. Yes, there is some moving graphics there, but this is the kind of thing that this screen was really made for. It looks great on there. It's very easy to read. The backlight doesn't make a huge amount of difference indoors. If we turn that off and on, I don't know that you can even see the difference. I'm flicking it off and on there. But it's nice and clear and easy to read. And we can take a look at the models of cars that were available in 1988, including the Ford Escort GL, which is the first car that I ever had. A 1982 Ford Escort I had. Options for stickers. You can get a window sticker with it. This is actually not a bad machine, in my opinion, to have had in a garage, because you've got all of those ports on the top. You could have plugged this into cars to do diagnostic testing. It could have got chucked around the garage with greasy hands, with engineers chucking spanners against it, and it would have been fine. So not a bad idea. And I can take my trusty old Ford Escort out for a drive. It was gold with a beige interior, which you can't really see on this screen. Even if we could select that, press I for ignition to start. S to fasten your seatbelt. And then away we go. I think it's caps lock, isn't it? Change gear. Oh, it's just like the old days, taking my Escort for a spin, driving to college. I had 4 gears as well and a manual choke. The flux capacitor hasn't kicked in. I don't think my Ford Escort ever hit 88. It wouldn't have been capable of without a severe hill to come down. Despite some quite fast-moving graphics, that was entirely playable in all the senses of playability that very simple simulator has. I'm quite impressed with this screen. Oh, I want to show you Wolfenstein 3D, but it's telling me we don't have enough memory available. So I think what we're going to have to do is copy it over to our onboard storage and then disable the PCMCIA slots so that we've got the available memory. So let's X-copy it across. X-copy W3D to the C drive with a /E. Is this a directory? Yes. It's a bit ghosty, but again, I'm still kind of impressed that the screen is making this playable even. Oh man, I take it back. I'm starting to feel really ill playing this. It's the kind of motion sickness you get sometimes from playing on a VR headset. Oh, it doesn't feel good at all. That's enough of that. So that gives you a flavour of the Husky FC486. I hope you've enjoyed the tour today. Do you know what? I'd love to stress test this thing. I'd love to drop the metal ball from a great height and see if that screen is as tough as they say. Drive a car over it, set fire to it, and all the rest of the things that this thing is designed to withstand. But I've actually grown rather fond of it, and I'd be a bit sad if I somehow damaged or broke this. So I think the old boy deserves a bit more respect than that, and it certainly earned its place in the cave today. I hope you've been entertained by what you've seen, and more so, I hope if there's just one person out there who has one of these on the shelves that doesn't seem to be working and the commands that you've seen today help to bring it back to life, then let me know in the comments, because that would have made the whole video worth it just for that one person, in my opinion. As always, thank you for watching. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do take a moment to subscribe and hit like, and I'll see you next time. Take care.